It is the last video of 2020 and we're going to talk about setting your goals for the next year. Welcome back to Pencils and Stories. My name is Henrike and I make and teach comics. I want to help you get your own comics started, and if you want more information about that, stay tuned and subscribe for weekly videos. So I don't know how you're feeling at the end of this year. Maybe you had a lot of free time, you got a lot done, maybe you didn't do as much. Not sure how you're going into the new year. Maybe you have a lot of ideas, you have a lot of energy and a lot of time to work on those ideas. Or maybe you feel a little overwhelmed by the prospect of doing a lot of things and setting a lot of goals. Me personally, I don't want to set too many goals. I actually have my goals already planned out for myself because of me launching my course, and that's going to dictate the majority of next year. If you have a lot of time that you can divide over multiple projects, you can definitely do that. There is something to say, however, for picking one goal and working on one thing at a time. Especially if you're doing smaller projects, you can actually blast through the whole thing in a few months at the start of the year and get some really nice sense of progress when you work on those things, one at a time and completing it, starting something new, completing it, starting something new. You have a bigger project and you assume that you're going to work on it for the majority of next year. You maybe have some other goals as well. It might be good to time yourself for 1 or 2 weeks to see how fast you work and to see how much work you could potentially get done over the course of next year. And then when you have that information, then see what your goal is going to be for the next year. Some people like to set a theme for the new year, which is more like an overall thing in your life kind of thing, but you can also apply a theme to artwork and to comics. Like, for example, if you're working on your comic and you want to improve on something while you're working on your comic, maybe you can make the theme of next year, I don't know, costume design. Just saying something. You could also have multiple themes over like quarters or something. So when you look at your list of ideas, your list of projects, things you're working on, what is the one thing that could either give you a quick win, or it's something that's really dear to your heart and you really want to bring out into the world? What is something that maybe you need to complete because it has deadlines, you're working for somebody else? Maybe you're a freelance artist and you need to make some money. You're doing that with your artwork. Those kinds of things can all weigh in for you to decide what is the project that's going to get my main focus right now. Think about what is something that would make you feel really good if you completed it, or at least progressed a lot at the end of 2021. Then we're going to break that down. Working on something for 1 year is a very complicated and vague, nebulous thing. Like I talk about in other videos as well, I'm a very big proponent of breaking things down until the smallest possible action, so you always know what actions to take, what you actually need to do. Because I want to improve my anatomy is not really an actionable goal. You will always be improving your anatomy, and you cannot really measure when you've made that goal. So something like filling up a sketchbook is a way more actionable goal. You can actually see at the end, hey, I filled up the sketchbook, I'm done with this goal. So when you know the end result, what will make you feel really happy, really good at the end of 2021, and maybe it's like, I don't know, 50 comic pages, or it is finishing all the thumbnails for my story or something like that, then you can break it down further. Like, what does the halfway point look like? What does it look like half a year? Like, if you want to finish 50 pages by the end of the year, you got to be at 25 pages at the halfway point. And then breaking it down further even into another half, which is around 12 pages. And then breaking it down again into another half, which is your quarterly goal, which is around 12 to 13 pages. So you have to make those in 3 months. That means 4 pages per month, which means 1 page a week, basically. When I started my webcomic, that was something that I did as well. I was working on my buffer, which I wanted it to be at 50 pages. And next to that, I needed to also post on social media to create a lot of hype and then also build my WordPress website. So break everything down. Don't just put on your to-do list, build a WordPress website. Actually figure out what you need, what other things you need to download, what other things you need to create image-wise, make some layouts and everything, and just really break it down. And if you've never done it before, like for example, I'm doing a Kickstarter right now and it's something I've never done before, you kind of figure this out as you go. So if you're doing a very new project, something you've never done before, there will be some trial and error. You can write everything out, but be aware that some things can change, or some things are actually easier to do another way, and you will, you will adjust as you go. There's no way that you're gonna do everything that you make a list for right now at the beginning of the year and then completely follow that list for next year. So I do want to remind you to not put pressure on yourself to actually follow, the schedule, and then when you run into a roadblock, you're stuck. Like, adjust, be flexible, and regularly review your goal, and also really be clear on why you're doing it. Because if you, for example, figure out that you haven't worked on your project for like 4 weeks, it can feel really demotivating. You can go, well, the next 4 weeks also really don't matter. But if you go back to why you are doing it, what your goal is, and even if like halfway through the year you're like, oh, I'm never going to make that goal, be flexible enough to adjust. Maybe the 50 pages, maybe you won't make it to the 50 pages because there's other stuff getting in the way. But maybe you can make the 25 at the end of the year, and it's still more than if you quit in like 3 months and you have made, 10 pages, and then you quit. Take the blow, say, well, I won't make the 50, but I might make the 25. Those days when you have like a to-do list and then you're procrastinating and you know that you're not going to get everything done, and then you throw everything overboard because the day is ruined. Like, be aware that you don't go into that kind of mindset in the new year, because that is where resolutions fail. Oh, I failed once. The streak is broken. It's not perfect. Ditch all of that stuff. Just keep going, pick up where you left off. Maybe you will not make the entire goal, but at least you'll make like 25%, 50%, maybe even 75% of the goal. And that's a mindset thing. You can still make it. You can still, if you're doing the 50 comic pages, you can maybe still get to 35 or 40 pages, and that's still a lot of pages. But if you give up after 1 quarter and you only have 12 pages done and you're like, I'm not making my goal, so whatever, why should I even try? Like, try and not get into that kind of mood. Like I said in other videos, breaking down the goal until you have the smallest action, and maybe break it down so much that you actually have actions that you can do on a daily basis, that is really key. So you know at any given time what the actual action is that you need to be doing, and you're not guessing. When you're not really clear on what you need to be doing on a certain day, the chances of you starting to procrastinate increase significantly. It's always the case with me. Whenever I procrastinate, it's either because I don't know what I need to be doing and that overwhelms me, or I'm about to do something that's hard or new. But then what does it look like to make 4 pages a month? Depending on the way you work, I work in batches. I can work on 4 pages at the same time. So that means, scripting it all out. I have my script like for the entire story ready, but script it out, thumbnail it out, sketch it out, ink everything, and then color everything. And lettering, of course. How could I forget? Now you know what you need to be doing. You need to script 4 pages. That's your next action. Script the 4 pages. If you haven't figured out the story yet, if you're gonna make a new comic, then there's other stuff, obviously. Speaking of, I have a course coming up that can help you with that in January. It's getting so close now. January 25th, I'm launching my course, How to Start a Comic, and that will take you from idea to how to write your story. We're going very deep into story and writing and coming up with a good story, then designing your comic, making good workflows, and then you get a crash course on actually making comic pages. So that's going to be my new course that's going to launch on Kickstarter. If you want to have a little early look at it, you want to have a little taste, then I have a checklist of what actually to prepare before you start making your pages that you can get if you subscribe to my email list. You can go to pencilsandstories.com/extra. If you want to be notified when the course launches, you can go to howtostartacomic.com and you can sign up for the notification list. The course will launch on Kickstarter. We'll have an early bird price. It will never be that cheap again. So definitely stay in the loop. That was it for this last video of 2020. I want to thank you all so much for watching my videos this year. I promised myself a video every single week over the course of this year, and I actually succeeded. Uploaded around 52, 53 videos this year. I will have to see what I do next year because I'm going to be very focused on creating the course and doing the Kickstarter and stuff, at least at the first few months. So I'm still trying to figure all of that out, what that means YouTube wise, because I really want to get back into making comics. Still want to kind of see how I can mix the two things. Right now the Kickstarter is taking up all of my time. I'm not leaving, don't worry. I'm so happy that you joined me this year. A lot of you found me this year. The majority of you found me this year. I gained around 600 subscribers in 1 year, which I think is huge. And I want to thank you all so much for your support, for liking, for commenting, for showing up on live streams, for subscribing, for sharing on social media. I appreciate every single one of you. I want to wish you a very great, creative, happy 2021. Stay safe during the new year. Stay safe in the new year. And I wish you a lot of joy in your creative projects. So that was it for this week. That was it for this year. Go and make some comics.